So we're at the rubbish tip. This wasn't put here by us, this is years worth of fly tipping. Basically building rubble. We found all sorts in here. We found girders, bits of metal girders, corrugated plastic that goes on the sides of buildings. What I'm doing now, Kate's decided it's a crucial moment now to start using topsoil. She's just getting one last bucketful, I think. But I reckon that if we take out some of these rocks, it'll be an easier job.
All the bottom tyres are for drainage, so I'm filling them up with aggregate, and then on top lots of soil, and then I'm going to build that up using compost, mulch,
and ram it down.
All sorts of organic material. So over time it'll be.
So why do you have to ram it down? Why don't you just fill it and leave it?
Because the tyres at the side,
they're hollow, aren't they? So
yeah,
tyres are.
There's always those air gaps.
Yeah.
And fair enough, you wouldn't have to if it was just about the plants, but it's also about the slope and keeping that earth back.
So this is not. This is actually meant to be a practical way of holding soil back and stopping creeping, because as you can see,
it's multifunctional.
Yeah. Our land is very, very steep. We haven't actually measured the degree of angle here, but we reckon it is pretty steep.
It serves both an ecological purpose and an engineering as well.
Now, if anyone is interested and are saying, oh, but don't tyres pollute, there is no concrete proof of that. Of course, if you put new tyres down, you know, that have come out of a factory, you would never put new tyres down, and the reason being is that when they create the tyres to be used on cars, they use very toxic chemicals to harden them for the road, and they're sealed in like a layer of these chemicals. Now if you put new tyres down, of course, yes, you would end up with pollution, but these are called off-gas tyres, so all of these have been used, and of course over time the chemical layer that seals them wears off and they just start to wear down. So we are literally just working with rubber now. So yes, they are safe, and a lot of ecological projects do use them because A, it's cheaper, and B, this is a much more practical way of using tyres rather than just ending up in landfill, which is precisely what happens to a majority of them. Some do end up getting recycled and turned into rubber chippings that are used in play parks and things like that. But this is what we're doing, and as you can see, I've just started putting just a little bit of soil over the top, so it's not so unsightly. I don't find them that attractive, but I do sort of praise the practicality of them. Though I must admit, it was kind of a bit of a joke with us when I initially agreed that we'd do the tyre trick with terracing. I did say to Kate to get about 200. 200 would be enough for us to deal with firsthand. The next day I come back and I'm looking at this enormous pile going, there's definitely more than 200 here. So she got 567 in the end.
Yes, I did.
So there's a choice word for that, Kate. I'm not going to say it on the video, but still.
It's called amazing.
I was swearing inside. But yes, anyway. So they are a really good way of holding back the ground. Much better actually than a wall, because you've got the round shape. A circle is much more structurally sound than a square. So if you were dealing with a terrace here and you just use bricks, then the amount of force of soil behind it, eventually that wall would crack and subside. It just would not do the trick over time. Whereas these will last a very long time, indefinitely actually. And of course they'll be filled with earth, they'll be supporting our hedgerows, and eventually you won't even be able to see them. So this will literally look like a paddy field almost. Hopefully not with all the waterlogging, but yes. So Kate's just using topsoil. Where she is now, as we were digging in the ditch, or rather Geraint and Kate were doing that job, I was working on the rubble. They moved the topsoil to one side, so she's just scraping that back up and filling it in. So yeah, I think we're doing quite well today. So I'm really impressed with how things are going, and I'm chuffed with how the path looks, because it definitely looks a lot tidier. I'm just hoping that the plants will spring back. There's definitely enough water in the ground. I dipped a finger in, and of course there's a lot of soil that stuck to me, so that's a good sign. There is moisture in there, but I think we just made a mistake with the grass cuttings. So if you are using grass mulch, make sure that A, it's dry, and that you are only putting a very small amount down at a time, and potentially just digging it in, at least turning it in a bit, not just leaving it as a mat as we did.